First step in making our crosscut sled is we need to rip a couple of strips of wood in our table saw to fit snugly within these grooves here while still moving freely. We don't want them the exact height of the table here. We want to sit a little bit below there, just a little. So right there you're talking maybe a 32nd of an inch, because we're not trying to ride on the bottom here. We're trying to maintain stability side to side here. The crosscut sled I'm making here, I decided 20 by 24 was the size I wanted, because I mostly want to be able to handle small pieces of wood instead of using the miter saw, because you'll get cleaner cuts on the crosscut sled, and also be able to do angles repeatably. So this is cut for us. Now we have to cut our back, or our facing side here and here. I'm planning to install a stop with some T-track here. So we need to measure for that, because this is going to sit just like that. So I need to know this height here. So my height there is 1 7/8. Yep, 1 7/8. So I'm going to cut one strip for across here at 1 7/8 by 2 feet long, and then or 2 inches. I'm going to add an eighth for good measure. So one strip at 2 inches for across here, for this to sit in and that to sit down. I'm going to cut another strip, adding in the height of this, so 2 3/8 for the back here. So we can go do that on the table saw. Okay, with our back pieces cut, this is my 2-inch piece, and I cut a 2 3/8 on the table saw there. I ripped them to width and place them. Here's the T-track we're going to use. That's how we want that to sit. And our stop will be right there. So now we're going to cut these to length. Now that those are cut to length, starting to look like we want them to look, we need to cut our T-track to length too. And we'll measure it out. We're just going to cut that with the hacksaw. I know we could use the miter saw, but cutting aluminum isn't that friendly on the miter saw. So we'll just grab a hacksaw. What we're going to do is set our fence, which I already have done, to halfway through our board here. So this is 2 feet wide. I set my fence to 1 foot. And I'm just going to mark right here and right there. Like that. I'm going to do that on both sides, or I can measure it. And this doesn't have to be a precise mark. It's just so we know where to spray in a second here. And we're just going to put that down and out of the way. I'm going to get our little strips here. Clean this out a little bit. And I'll put them on the edge there so we can see how far we're going. I'll put a couple pennies in the slot there. And a couple pennies down here. We'll go right on ahead. Live like we're rich. Put a couple in the middle. Same thing. There. right there, and right there. What we want to do is lay these strips in here now. Make sure we're sitting proud, which we are. Not very much. We don't need to be very proud. Just a little bit. And we're going to even them up on the back of our table here. And get us some CA glue. Put us a few drops. Pretty much right where you think you would put screws. Remove all this stuff. We're going to take our activator, and right where we put those lines, we're just going to spray. And we're going to come over, put this against our fence, very nicely. From this edge we're working. We're going to lay it right into place. Right against our fence there. Look down. Wait a minute or two. And we're all lined up. With these locked in place, courtesy of our CA glue, we're just going to put us some marks here. There's some screws. 6 inches is fine. Hardware. If we're going to use these here, they're center to center 1.5 inches, which will be important in a minute here. Now you can do this a couple different ways. You can do each drawer individually or do them all at once in the unit. I prefer to do them all at once in the unit, especially with a unit like this where we are doing a shop cabinet where we really just kind of put things together with BC plywood, so it's going to have irregularities, but I'd like to create balance in unit.
This way, it's 7 11/16. So we're just going to mark that here on the top, and there on the bottom, and we're just going to take a straight edge, and we're going to line those marks up really nice.
Okay, what I'm doing here is, because I want balance and uniformity with my handles here, and this is what we're installing, I'm measuring the center of my box in the top here, and the center of my box in the bottom one here, and I put a line. Now our fence is all done here, and install our T-track. I'm going to line it up on each edge, and get it open. We get our centering bit here. And we're going to put our first hole. Make sure we feel good about that. That's it for that. And pop our first screw. Like that. Then we
Holding in place nicely. Put the rest of our holes. And put the rest of our screws.
With that done, we'll install our fancy little knob here. And our stop. We are, for all intents and purposes, in business on this back here. Now that we're starting to get where we want to be, we got the pieces cut for the back here, pieces cut for the front here, or vice versa, whichever one you want to call it. I'd like to be able to cut miters in here as well, which means I need to position myself some T-track and some sort of guide that I can use screws very similar to this to hold down. First things first, we'll figure out where we want to put the T-track. We'll place that, and then we're going to dado those into place. Then we'll make this piece here. So in order to do that, I'm going to roughly put them where I think they should be. It's going to be right about there. Go right on ahead and just take a quick measurement there. And we're going to round to something easy. So 5. Oh, 5 and 10. Okay, so now we have these marked out here. We are going to put our dados in here. We're going to need to measure the thickness of this to know how far down we're going. It looks like 3/8 is going to do it.
Still a little yet. Same thing. We'll take a hair out. And that is going to be exactly perfect. Now to answer a question, how do I know which side I hinged? Look at the picture. It's not my
Okay, now we got our slots milled. I'm going to pick us a couple bolts here. Let's see what we have to work with. Trying to hold down a 3/4 inch piece. Really, these two are going to be our best bets, right? Then, it's as simple as putting a few pilot holes. And popping our screws through. Make sure we're not coming through on the bottom. Perfectly square mark there. I'm going to take my 1/8 inch setup block Just put that in there a little bit. So we know that we're perfect with our table saw cut. And we're going to play around with these precision squares so we can lock them in with our T-track to exactly where we want to be. I'll put that nut on there, just like that. You can use any other square you want. It just really depends how accurate you want to make it. I want perfect. Now that's done. Yes, there's another step because perfection takes time. We are going to take your 1, 2, 3 block right there. Get you another one. Just like that. We're going to get our activator. Spray the back of this. We're going to drop it in place right against these blocks here. Right to where it goes. You don't have a whole lot of time here. The activator hits. It's a matter of seconds. It's a done deal. Okay, with the glue, and I put an extra couple clamps here. That's all locked in place. We are just going to flip this over. Just like this.
You want to be in the middle of your board, not in the middle of the two pieces. Zip with some screws in. And make sure these are countersunken up so they don't hit the table on the table saw. We don't want that.
Now we're starting to look believable. We're going to clamp and screw our back piece here. So we built these handy little T-track and knobs to hold things. So you can hold whatever you'd like. You want to hold down a clamp, hold down a clamp. Hold down a board for reference, hold down a board for reference. For our first one, just as an example, I want to be able to do 45s on here. So I want to be able to hold down this block with this clamp here. And we're just going to make this first jig. You can make whatever jigs you can come up with depending on what you're trying to do. And this is my 45 jig. So when I want to use it, I will install it, if I can manage to. $45, lock it down. And I will be able to cut 45 degrees in my saw there. Last thing we're going to do is give this a quick sanding. It slides a little nicer. And then we're going to wax it a little bit. Any kind of wax will do. I like car wax. I do all my tools with it as well. Tables, etc. Like on the top of my saw. It just seems to do what I want it to do very well. But beeswax would be fine. Butcher's wax would be fine. Whatever's handy. I'm just going to coat that a little bit. Don't need a lot on there, enough just to soak in a little bit and just take a little of that rough out of there. There's our finished sled in action. Thank you. Please like and follow.